I don't like this. I don't like it at all. I don't like that we don't have anything to look for. I swear on this. I'm happy with More City Nerds, by the way. I'm sorry this is late. My grandma passed on last Friday, and if you've been around, you know that my uncle passed literally last year and one day prior to that. So it was just a hard time all in all. And so I'm sorry that this is late, but I mean, this time I at least have a valid reason, you know. Oh, and by the way, I don't wish Alzheimer's or dementia on anybody. I don't wish it on my worst enemy. That is an absolute hell on earth. I've been saying this with HBO switching to Max, with executive producers jumping ship, with the people who fought for Sopranos, Game of Thrones, these big Deadwood, these big, huge, awesome things to be made, and now they're gone. I'm nervous. And I've been saying that for a couple of years, and then they're like, oh, we're switching to being called Max. And personally, I feel like taking the HBO off means you're taking off a piece of prestige. Like, HBO meant something. And with Succession ending, I feel like we are. This is an era of TV we'll never get again. And this is a caliber of writing that I don't think we'll ever get again. Like, I don't know what fills this hole in my heart, because this filled the Game of Thrones hole in my heart. And now this is done, and I don't have anything to fill this hole in my heart. Oh my God, man. At first, I was thinking, oh my God, this is going to be Kendall's Michael Corleone moment, like I've been saying. And then I realized real quick in the final episode, no, he's Tony Montana. He's Tony Montana. He's going to lose it all. He's going to lose it all. One thing, and I've said this from the very beginning, if you've been around, I love when all of the Roy kids are together. All these actors do such a good job of when they're alone together, even when they're adults, they act like they revert to being 11 years old. And I love that, because it makes us care about them. It is so hard to make us care about billionaires, and we care about them. But geez, man. Mom and I were debating last night, because out of nowhere she just goes, I really didn't like the way Succession ended. And I thought Shiv was a rat. And I felt the same way too until I really rewatched it. And I'm like, no, she wasn't. Like, I think Shiv really knew what her brothers were capable of, and she didn't like it. And that's why she eventually is like, no. And you got to remember, the title is Succession. The title is Succession. I thought there's a couple things that they did in this episode that I was like, wow, you really ran over that kind of quickly, but I don't mind it because you are addressing it, but in that Succession way. But I kind of wish it would have been hinted at a bit more, because the fandom for years has been like, Kendall's daughter does not look like him, you know? And I just thought we didn't know if the show was going to get, you know, when they cast people or they do something, and like Always Sunny, this happens, and they're like, dude, we didn't know this was going to come back around in 10 years and there's going to be a Reddit thread about it, you know? So I kind of just chalked it up to that, where I was like, they probably just picked a child actor, call it a day, and if they address it, they address it. If not, it's his kid. But when Roman, oh my God, I think that was the coldest insult in this entire thing when he said, they're not yours. They're randos. I was like, not randos, Roman. But I don't think Roman meant that in a, I don't care about them or they're not my family kind of way. I think he was just trying to say matter-of-factly, like, let's be real here. And like I've been saying, the title is Succession. And about halfway through the episode, I went, oh my God, Shiv realizes my kid's the heir. My kid will be the heir if I go with this, whatever. If she takes over at first, I thought, and then I was like, I definitely didn't think it was going to be Tom. I personally thought Tom might die or somebody else might. I still was worried about Kendall. But another thing it did really well, going back to the water. Kendall's back looking at the water. But I definitely didn't think it was going to be Tom. But I don't mind that, because Tom busted his ass. He worked the hardest. He was with Logan when he passed. But I think Shiv really realized, like, it might not be now. It will be later. But my kid will be the successor. It will be the heir. And not only that, to watch Shiv, this woman in power, and that's something Succession has done better than anybody. I've said this a bunch of times. When Succession first came out, I was like, we have Vikings with Lagertha and a bunch of amazing female characters. Succession, which I think has done some of the best writing for female characters ever. And shout out to Carmela Soprano, because without her, we would never have nothing. And shout out to Tony Soprano, because without him, we wouldn't have nothing like Breaking Bad or this or anything. Game of Thrones was still on at the time. And I was like, I remember saying that to my mom and saying, like, this is, everything we're watching has some of the best writing for female characters I've ever seen. But Succession really killed it. And to watch Shiv have to revert back to going, I don't want the power. I don't want a position. I am the woman to the side of a man. I'm just the barefoot and pregnant woman. I think that kills her inside. I think that really bothers her. And when she put her hand in Tom's, I was like, oh my God, like that really broke my heart. And I didn't think it would, because I really did. I thought Shiv was being a sneaky rat. But I was like, no, she's ending up in the one place she didn't want to be. And that is the backseat, the person behind the man, not anything on her own valid stuff. And I thought that was really kind of heartbreaking. I'm like in shock still, because I don't even know what to say. And Mom really was bothered by Tom, and I wasn't. I was like, no, I don't mind. She also was under the impression that he was getting rid of Greg. I didn't take it that way. I took that as him saying, like, no, I'm going to keep you so close you can't go nowhere. Kind of like the Roys do to everybody they've married. If anybody's ever noticed that, with Rava, with anything, like, that's why Tom doesn't just go, I feel like. Not only do I think he's just a normal, good guy, but he knows it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter what I do. You cannot escape this family. Another thing I thought was really cool, and I've talked about this at length, ever since season 1, Shiv and Tom's gender roles have been swapped. You don't see women in TV or movies going, I want to go outside the marriage. That's normally a male thing. You don't see them going, I want the power. That's normally, and there's exceptions, a male character thing. And they've done that for, like, the wedding. He's like, that's not very wedding-y. Like, he's the one excited for a wedding. Normally, that is a female or a feminine characteristic. And they didn't have Shiv doing none of that. So to have her have to submit to this, I think that was the saddest part, honestly. And I think that she saw, like, I think the Call It episode really bothered her. And all the way up to the end when Roman even said, like, it should be me. And Kendall hugging him, I thought for a second there, oh, we're good. And then I was like, I don't know. I think we're going to have a repeat of season 1. We're going to have somebody flip on this. Even have those roles subverted and still have Tom get the spot. That speaks volumes. It speaks volumes. And I loved the way they did that. That part, let's put it this way. From an artistic standpoint, from a thematic standpoint, I'm like, dang, I really like this. I liked that. I liked how they handled this and this and this. And then in my heart of hearts, I'm going, man, I don't know if I wanted that to happen. Does that make sense? But I didn't hate it, and I didn't mind it. At least we didn't get a Sopranos ending or a Game of Thrones ending, you know? I didn't hate this. But with Greg specifically, I thought he was saying, I'm never going to let you go. And then when we see Colin, remember what Kendall said about Colin? Remember that Colin was there when Kendall killed a kid and stuff, but remember what he said about Colin at their dad's, not this funeral, but right after he died and they're all at the house? And he's like, look, it looks like a dog without its owner. And it's like, no, Kendall, now you are the dog without its owner, and he's watching you. Tom's keeping an eye on all of you. He's not going to let any of you get too far, because in my opinion, the Roys could do damage if they're far away. If they're left to their own devices. They could plot on him. They could do whatever, and he knows how they can be. But some things I really liked, oh my God, for a minute I thought the mom was lying, and I thought Roman wasn't there. And then I was like, I love seeing them together. I love seeing these siblings together. It's so, you just see how they were when they were kids. And for a minute I had some hope. But then when we got to the water, I was like, no, he continues with this crown thing. So we can't divide. You keep wanting, we need to stay together. And I was shocked at what happened. And I was shocked at that fight in the office. Oh my God, but we'll get to that. But yeah, we see them all together, acting like they're kids again, bonding. But I think Shiv knew this is the last time I'm going to be with my brothers like this. I think she knew that. And then with Roman, I thought that was pretty heartbreaking. I always thought Roman would step down. I didn't think it was going to be like that. And this is why I'm pretty sure this is why I kept thinking Roman was the youngest. But then again, he's just like the precious youngest boy, I guess, because the mom's always like, he's the sweetest one. She's trying to protect him. She doesn't really do that for her other kids. And I liked seeing that. That was a rarity we don't get from Caroline. I would have jawed that guy who married her at one of these points. When he showed up at the funeral, all of that, just gross. But yeah, my mom was under the impression that Greg was on the outs. And I was like, I don't think he's on the outs. I think Tom's saying you can never leave and you're stuck in the position I want you in and don't think anything else. I also kind of thought that they left it open for a continuation. When Frank and Carl say, do you want to go on your golden parachute, like you want to retire? And he says, what about one more rodeo? And I'm like, okay, but then I get nervous because I'm like, HBO has so many change-ups going. I don't know if I trust them. I did love going back to New York, like not just the funeral part, but New York, because I know it's cliche, but New York is such a character in this. And I loved seeing them finally go back to that, because if you've noticed, we've been staying far away in LA, or we've been staying in Sweden. Like, they haven't been specifically showing New York. Even with the funeral, it was the church. It wasn't New York, it was the church mainly. So going back there so harshly, I really liked that a lot. I thought that was really cool. It was a good juxtaposition. Yes, they might not have explicitly said it, but I was saying that. I go, Madsen's not as crazy as he's pretending to be. He's not as eccentric and out there as he's pretending to be. That's bull. I think that was shown in this, because he was pretty cool, calm, and collected. You feel me? And man, does this show it's so beautifully done. I know I'm not going to get it all in at once, so I think we're going to have to do like a second video after this, but I was saying in my reaction to the finale promo, what if the intro, and then I saw other people talking about it, and it kind of pissed me off, but I was like, oh, whatever. But I was like, what if the intro, or just home movies in general, show something like Logan saying, this is, I thought they were going to show a full-blown like home video and Logan was going to be outright saying, this is who I want in charge, and that was going to affect things. But I thought the way they handled this was so much better. I thought them opening the doors and like you can hear your dad talking or your loved one talking and it's a video and it's like, that's already heartbreaking. But man, did you really have to hit my Irish ass with some Celtic singing, like some Irish Scottish song? Like, man, if it's one thing that we're really good at, it's singing depressing songs, and that really hit me in the feelings. But I also think that was a huge moment for Shiv rewatching it, like going, no, our blood is going to get this eventually. Like I said, succession. But if you watch that home video, and I noticed this immediately, is Connor is to his right. It's the people in the room that knew Logan the longest and the best. But to his right is his firstborn son, and he's even joking with him, which we don't see. And Connor's one of the only characters that could do that with Logan. And so I've just really liked that a lot. And seeing all them watch that, like, we can all relate to that. And that's what this show nails. We might not be able to relate to yachts, but we can relate to losing a parent, losing someone we love, watching a home video back and going, wow, you know, like, and it hitting you in the feelings. So later on in the episode when Shiv looked at Kendall and said, you are not the firstborn son, I was like, damn, because she's not wrong. And that's when I was like, Kendall has these grandeur ideas about himself that are going to get in the way. And that's when I was just, like I said, halfway through the episode, I was like, no, he's not Michael Corleone. He's Tony Montana. He's going to go out with a bang. Like, he's going to lose it all. He's going to throw it all away. Seeing their dad with Connor, joking with him, and with the people, take the business part out of it and just make them the people you knew the longest, like his oldest friends that he could call friends. Remember that shot or that scene with Logan with Colin out to eat when they sneak off that one time and he's like, you're my only friend. Like, Logan was a very lonely, solitary person. And after he lost Marcia, he was really alone. So to see him with these people like that was just different. And I liked seeing that, but I do think that was a major impact on Shiv going, no, my bloodline, our bloodline will take this one day. It might not be now, but I'm going to make the ultimate sacrifice and be unhappy, and that's going to be what goes down. So I did like that. I thought she went full Cersei before we knew Cersei wasn't going to make it with her kid, you know, but when she's like, there's still one to come, that was Shiv. And I was like, good for you. Good for you. And when me and my mom were arguing last night, I was like, you're trying to tell me that I have 3 daughters, ain't nobody touching our shit, this is on lock, nobody, let's put it this way. Well, this is a fact. I'm not putting it anyway. My mom, she's a smart woman. I love her to death. She's one of the, without the toxicity, she's Tywin Lannister, though. Say we all got married and then all croaked. Our husbands would have no right to nothing. Because my mom was like, no. I was telling her, I was like, miss, all your shit's on lock and make sure your kids get everything. You would be furious if just because we were women that was shoved to the side or whatever it was, or we were forced into a slot in life we didn't want to be in. You would be furious about that. With or without you understanding the other parts of it, you'd just be going, no, that's bull. And she was like, I get what you're saying. And I was like, I'm not saying that I like how Shiv got there or did what she did, because she didn't get anywhere. She went to a place she didn't want to be. She's looking out for her kid. She's going, they'll be there one day. And then my mom was a little more about it. Then she was more with it. But other than that, she was like, no, I did not like how that was handled. Like, seeing everybody in the room again, we had Stewie, Ewan. I thought I really liked that. I almost lost the mic there, but we're good. And yeah, no, I'm shocked at where this went. But it also makes sense. And like I said, I kept getting worried that somebody was going to be dead. And that didn't happen. Then I kept getting worried at the end. I was like, is Kendall going to jump? But man, let's just talk about this. Because when Shiv finding out you're really not on my side was heartbreaking. The kids bonding and knowing this isn't going to last was heartbreaking. And then we get to the vote. And it felt just like season 1. And I was like, oh my God, they're going to lose it. But I definitely didn't think it was actually going to be Tom. I didn't. For a minute, I thought Greg, I thought Ewan. I was like, what if Ewan takes it? But I definitely didn't think it was going to be Tom. But seeing that vote go down and seeing Kendall get beat twice. And yeah, and everybody was like, oh yeah, Kendall's a great dad. I was like, Kendall is not a great dad. What are you saying? But when they all walked out and had that fight in that office, I was shocked. Oh my God, what about Tom fist fighting Greg? I wanted Greg to beat the brakes off him. I was like, punch him in the face. And I like Tom. I've been fighting for Tom. I said this. When people were calling Tom a creep, I was like, I don't think he's a creep. I think he does creep things, but I don't think he's a creep. I think Tom is the one who hangs out with the bullies, who alone is cool. But then when he's with his friends, you're like, why are you so mean to me? I hate you. But when you're alone, you're cool as hell. So yeah, I've always been rooting for Tom. I just didn't think he was going to go to the top like this. I truly did not. Kendall and Roman go at each other physically. That was heartbreaking. When Shiv was like, just give me a minute. And you could tell she really didn't want to hurt her brothers. You could tell that Shiv didn't want to do that. You could tell she didn't want to hurt her brothers. And she knew what she was sacrificing. She knew she was sacrificing herself. And like I said, I don't have to say I like how everybody got wherever. But all these people are scumbags. And so I didn't mind that. And I was like, no, Shiv is going it might not be me, but one day it will be my child who has this empire. And I liked that. But that fight between Roman and Kendall was so sad. Shiv just going like, man, whatever. And then even Kendall and having that dynamite blow taken away where we didn't hear in the room, no. And Kendall comes in, he's like, please, please, please. And he's like, it's already been done, Ken. It's already done. It's like, damn, man, oh my gosh. And then, like I said, when they're at the ending and you see Colin following him, I'm like a dog without its owner. And they're broken now. And when they showed Shiv at the end putting her hand in Tom's, I was like, man, that's sad. That's sad because Tom became something he didn't want. Shiv, and I'm not talking about CEO, I'm talking about as a person. He became something he didn't want. Shiv took a role she didn't want. Kendall's in a role he doesn't want. Roman is the only one who kind of is semi-okay, but I don't think this family is, you know? I think that we knew Roman was solidified when Jerry said, I could have taken you all the way to the top, and you messed that up. And he did. He lost his biggest ally. Like I said, Tywin Lannister. You lost the hand of the king when you lost Jerry. And that says something. There's too much going on in my brain for me to be like, oh my God. But I didn't hate this. I'm really sad it's gone. And I'm concerned. I'm concerned for HBO because I feel like that HBO name says prestige. And by taking that away, you're going, And I didn't hate Last of Us. But I didn't think it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. I thought it was a little toned down so that maybe adolescents could watch it. I feel the same way about a lot of things. Let's put it this way. If I was watching Game of Thrones for the first time and didn't know and it was airing and a 6-year-old woke up and came into the room, I would rush to be like, oh yeah, I don't want to see nothing. Now with certain things, I'm like, I got 30 seconds before something might happen on screen because I feel it. And I'm not saying you have to have nudity or you have to have violence. I'm the first one to go, if that's gratuitous, you're leaning on it and you don't need all that. But I do feel like they've gotten away from things and I'm worried, and that's why I'm like, they better not continue Succession because I will think that's trash. I really would. And I don't trust everybody there right now. They need to prove themselves to me. And with all these changes, I'm just like, I don't think you guys are going to be putting out the caliber of work that you were before. And I do think this was the end of an era. I think ending with Succession was the end of an era, and I know I've been hyping up the acting in Interview with the Vampire, which rightfully so, but goddamn, Succession is going to sweep the Emmys, and it deserves to. It was that good. It's that good. This is probably the best thing since Breaking Bad, and I'll stand by that. I think the 3 greatest shows of all time, fundamentally, whether or not you like them is neither here nor there, but fundamentally, the greatest shows of all time, in my opinion, are Breaking Bad, Succession, and Avatar: The Last Airbender. And a close one that I could argue would be Sopranos, but that has its moments where it slacks. And yeah, I'm Abby with Motor City Nerds, and I'm definitely going to talk about this more. I'm just like, oh my God. And like I said, it's been a long week. I lost my grandma. It's already hard. It's going on the 1 year of losing my uncle, who reminds me of Logan Roy. It was just, then we have a huge Catholic wedding. That really broke me down. But, so I'm kind of scatterbrained. But yeah, I didn't hate this. I'm not too sad. I loved seeing Stewie shake Tom's hand at the end. I loved seeing everybody kiss the ring, essentially. And yeah, I might not appreciate how people did things, but who does in Succession? But I don't hate where everybody ended up. I like it, and I like what the writing did. And like I said, you had these characters end up in every which way they did not want to, and that says something. But yeah, hi to all the new subscribers. Make sure to comment, share, subscribe. It's been rough the last couple months, to say the least, and I've just been not great. So I'm trying to be better, and we're back at it. But tell me what you thought down below. Did you absolutely despise it, or are you like me and Mom, where we're like, man, we're kind of pissed, but we don't hate it? But then the artistic part of me is like, no, I love this. This was done so well.